Welcome to Chapter 4 of this section, Save on Essential Expenses. A significant portion of your expenses will be what you consider essential. Whether they're categorized as needs or wants, these are expenses we rely on to maintain a certain level of comfort in our lives. These essential expenses can include your needs, like housing or insurance, but may also apply to some of your wants, like a gym membership or certain subscription services. If you're living below your if you're living above your means, you're in debt, or you're just trying to reduce your expenses, unfortunately, you're going to have to make some cuts to your lifestyle. It's important to find a balance between reducing expenses while still ensuring your well-being. Sometimes cutting expenses isn't worth it if it makes your life significantly worse. Your compromises should feel fair. Deciding which expenses to cut is difficult, and you'll want to remember all the concepts we talked about under the money mindset and time value of money sections. This is where you'll want to weigh your opportunity costs and maybe start thinking more about delayed gratification. In the tracking expenses section, I explained how to list all of your expenses and categorize them. Refer to that list now and try some of these general suggestions for reducing your expenses. The first tip is to start out by eliminating or reducing expenses that'll hurt the least. Think about your long-term goals and your reason for starting this journey. During financial coaching sessions where I have conversations with my clients, I've noticed that a lot of people find it easy to reduce how often they dine out or go for hair and makeup appointments. I also spoke to someone that saved $100 a month by playing less golf. Keep in mind that in all of these cases, they didn't completely cut out the expense, but they did reduce it, which is a lot easier than cutting it out completely. The second tip is to reassess your subscription services. If you have multiple subscriptions providing the same service, for example, music or streaming, or services that you're not using, consider getting rid of the things that you don't need. Subscription services can cost you as little as a few dollars a month, but this does add up over time. The third tip is to save on utilities. At this point, you'll typically be left with your fixed expenses, costs that are harder to reduce, or there's maybe some kind of contract or agreement with a provider for these services. Make sure you're getting the best price on these services by shopping around at different companies every year or so. You can do this by researching online, talking to people you know, or talking to the companies themselves. You could switch providers if you could find a much better deal, but another option you have is calling your current service provider and asking if they have any promotions or if they can match a competitor's price. You can mention that you want to reduce your bill or save money, and it can also be beneficial to consider bundling your services if that provides a discount. I call my services providers every year for my internet service, and it saves me about $1,000 a year compared to the regular price, so it's definitely worth trying. Here are some other ways to save on utilities. Keep in mind that these are all small changes that add up over time. For electricity and gas, generally your provider will have peak and off hours pricing. Limit your use of services to the off-peak hours if possible. Try switching to energy-saving light bulbs to reduce your electricity bill. Develop water-saving habits by being mindful of water usage or using a dishwasher. Adjust your thermostat as needed. Consider using fans or opening windows if possible, and make sure you change furnace filters every few months and keep vents clean. We've talked generally about essential expenses, but now let's move on to one of the biggest expenses for a majority of people, food and groceries.